Hey y'all, welcome back. This is Raquel. Welcome back to our channel. I'm building our vacation home here in the Virgin Islands and also documenting our family journeys through traveling. So here we are. Look, I'm in a Wrangler. Yes, I'm on St. John. This is the first week in July. Actually, today is July 4th. And we have been on St. John for about 5 days. We came down on Sunday. Peter, Maya, and I came down. Malachi stayed behind this time. But we are here to check up on how things are going with our bill. And then we also enjoyed a little bit of 4th of July festivities. We went out for about 3 nights. Unfortunately, we're leaving today on the 4th of July, heading back up to Atlanta. So we won't get to enjoy the parade and the last night of Carnival. But we got some really good things done while we were here in just a short space of time. I think we're kind of getting used to just getting things done very quickly while we're here, just because we usually have a limited amount of time. So that's why it's important to trust whoever you hire for your build. If you're building on St. John or in the Virgin Islands or anywhere else, if you are building something remotely and you're not there physically all the time, it's important to hire somebody that you can trust. It's important to have some help, someone outside of the contractor that can go and check to see how things are doing as well. So we've been fortunate to have that. But it's also really great to come down and actually put your eye on things. This trip, what we focused on, Peter cut the grass. The grass had really grown up. And if you've been watching in our last few videos, we had a time when we came down and there was so much rain, the whole property was covered in grass. So what we did is we're just going to kind of keep it maintained. But anywho, Peter cut the grass. We got some steel like rebar ordered from Home Depot on St. Thomas. Got that delivered, so I'll show you that. And then things are looking a little different. So I'm going to take you guys inside so you can see how the downstairs looks, and take you on a little tour so you can see an update of how we're doing so far. So stay tuned. I'm about to get out of this Jeep so I can take you guys along with me. So as you can see, I'm actually on the property. We can actually pull up now. There's a Jeep. We're on top. So we're not having to pull or park on the bottom of the property. So that's pretty cool. Every little progress matters, right? So the progress of being able to drive up, even though we don't have a concrete driveway, but at least we're excavated, good enough where we can drive on up. So that is pretty cool. I'll take you guys on a little walk here with me. So what I'm showing y'all is the area where Peter was cutting the grass. This was all grown up when we got here. Everything was all grown up. So it took him maybe about a day and a half to get everything down and cut down. We know that when we come back, it'll probably be grown up again, but we either do it ourselves or hire someone, but it has to be done. It has to be maintained. So let me walk over here so you can kind of see where we're parked now. I'm going to turn around so you can see that we are actually up on the hill. And then this is a driveway that goes up, that will eventually go up to the main house. But where I am standing right now, you'll see a big pile of rocks here. Hopefully, eventually we can do something pretty cool with these rocks and probably make a stone wall or something here. Something that is aesthetically appealing so that we don't have to get rid of all these cool rocks. But where I'm standing here will be the driveway for the downstairs apartment. If you've been following along, you would remember that this wall we did within the last year, had it framed up, poured the footing, did all of that stuff, had it poured. So this driveway will be something where you come up the hill and then you can pull two cars, and it looks like it could fit more than 2 cars, but I don't think we'll use the whole space for parking. We'll probably have some trees along the wall. So the wall looks low. What we're going to do is we're going to eventually build it up a little bit more. So of course you won't be able to drive off because, you know, it can be pretty steep if you look down there. We're going to build it up and then put some railings on top of the wall and some lights on top of the wall as well. So it is coming to come, but you can see this will eventually be a wall where you can look over and see the bottom of the property. You can see who's coming up the driveway, who's coming down up or around the road. So it's going to be cool. I have a vision in mind, and sometimes when you're building and doing these things, you know, you have that vision and only you can see it, and you just have to verbalize that to your contractor. Not everything is drawn into the architectural plans, so some things we're kind of making up as we go, and this wall was really one of them. Not something that was drawn into the plans, but definitely something that I think is going to be great once we're finished. But you can see a ton of space to park vehicles down here. And then eventually what we're going to do here is have some stairs, like outdoor stairs, that will go up to the other driveway that will go to the main house, so that you can go from upstairs to downstairs with some beautiful stairs that will take you up there. Again, all in my mind, all you know, in my head, and things that I've communicated to the contractor. So you can see we're piled up with lumber. I'm gonna have to kind of climb my way over this. So let me do that and I will be right back. All right, so I made it over. So I'm going to take you guys on a little tour so you can see where we are and what has changed from our last update. If you did not see our last update, I'm going to link it above the screen here to the right of the screen on top, so that you guys can catch up and see where we are compared to today, July 4th. As you can see, the first thing you'll see is that we have some framing to the top of our walls. That is the top slab in the making. So super excited about that. Like I said, the small wins or the small progress is great, and we do celebrate every progress because this is a long-term project, so you really have to be patient and really appreciate, you know, every step of the way. So this is the what will eventually be the bathroom, like living area downstairs. And like I said, they've started to frame for the top slab so that eventually we'll have a roof over our heads here on St. John. This area is also framed as well, and all jacked up. And then what they're going to do is put the plywood over the framing so that they can begin to lay down the steel, the rebar, and pour the concrete. What I'm super excited about is that not only have they framed inside of these areas here, they also put down the plywood. So you can see it's pretty dark in here. That is because you can see the framing, and then the plywood is down as well. So when I first walked in here, I was definitely in amazement, because now that we have the framing on the top slab or ceiling, I can now see how tall these walls are, or ceilings. So super excited about that. It does definitely make the little space that we have down here seem a lot bigger than I thought. Now that you can see it's not concrete yet, but eventually this will all be poured and replaced with concrete. But it does give you an idea of how tall the ceilings will be. So I think the taller the ceilings, the bigger the place looks. So super excited about that. So you can see that in here, another thing, so in here is pretty cool. Now that we have some covering, The space is really cool. So if you're in here working, or doing anything, at least there's some shade on the property. Then, just baking in the sun, working and doing little things. So yeah, that is kind of what we have. Let's see how the mechanical or pump room's looking. I believe they did cover that also with plywood in preparation for the concrete pour. Peter is doing a couple of things around the yard. We actually are leaving this afternoon on a 3 o'clock flight back to Atlanta, so we're trying to wrap things up with our plants and different things like that. So in the pump room, you can also see that the plywood is also down, framing. Everything is kind of getting ready. Not, maybe a couple weeks away, I would say, from pouring. There's still some seams and all of that stuff that need to be clogged or I guess finished, and rebar and all of the steel needs to be laid and all of that stuff. But it's still good progress to see that there's some covering and we are moving really quite along. So Peter also cut all the grass here as well. It gives the guys a little bit of a clearer, cleaner space to work. We're still pretty much stacked up with plywood and 2x4s and all of that stuff here on the porch. Eventually that will go once we pour the slab on top and start making space on the top to start building up the main house. But until then, they will have to stay on the porch. And we're just, being flexible. The workspace isn't super neat, but, it is a construction site. But other than that, we are pretty happy with the progress so far. Again, this is the living area. We ordered some rebar, like I said, from Home Depot. And we did discover that Home Depot in St. Thomas does deliver to St. John. That was one thing new that we discovered on this trip. Usually before we would order things from Home Depot and then hire our own delivery driver to deliver the items on the barge. But then we discovered that Home Depot, not only do they deliver appliances, but they also deliver building materials. So if you're on St. Thomas on St. John and you want building materials delivered, they do that for $100. So I thought that was a pretty good price, seeing that the driver has to bring them all the way from St. Thomas on the barge, and then they deliver them at the bottom of the hill with a crane, all for $100. So that was another highlight of the trip. Like I said, these little things really get me excited. So pretty excited about that. Alrighty, so that's it. That wraps up our update for 4th of July week. We will be back down on St. John in a couple weeks to see how things are going, but super excited about the progress. Like I said, small baby steps. Even if it's just framing and seeing some plywood go up, we are in this for the long run. And we've been building for the last 4 years. The last year we've had a ton of progress. And within the next year, we do expect to see also the progress go up a little faster, progress a little faster, I would say. So, if you're new here, definitely subscribe so that you don't miss any of our updates. We have lots of updates coming and lots of videos that Peter and I are going to explain some of, how we got to where we got. Should we, use concrete versus blocks, how we decided on where to buy our steel from, different things, so that if you're considering a build, you'll kind of understand all of the factors that go into how do you decide which contractor to pick, how do you, buy materials, should you have the contractor buy the materials, things like that. We'll do more of that content. So definitely stay tuned, subscribe, and make sure that you turn on the notifications bell. That way you're notified every time we upload a video. It's the bell, and then you want to click all notifications. So thank you for watching, and thanks for all the support that you guys have shown us so far. It is truly appreciated, and it really keeps us going and motivated motivated, because this can be a love-hate project. But thanks to all that have commented and really given us a thumbs up to really keep us motivated and going. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.